Hi, Nativity students. This is Ben Heigerken. I'd like to say particularly hello to Isaac Heigerken, who's in second grade in Mrs. Dewar's class, my son. I'm here to present a little bit to you about Saint Martin de Porres. He's an important 17th century saint. And the reason I want to talk about him is because this month our country is celebrating people who came to the United States from Africa or whose ancestors came from Africa. And in the church, we always want to celebrate people who live holy lives. We call many of the people that lived holy lives saints because we know that they're in heaven with God and that they pray for us to God. And then we also want to try to imitate the things that they did in their lives that show us how to be better people. So Saint Martin de Porres is this figure here, and he's also in our gathering space. You'll see one of the images in our on the walls of the church portrays him like this. And there's some image symbols in this image that I will talk about a little bit later. So first I'm going to say a little bit about his life, and I'll talk about the image that's in our church. And then I'm going to also have you think about some questions with your teacher at the end. So Martin was born in Lima, Peru. We are up there by that blue dot. Let's see, I think it'll show up over here on my screen. And that's Minnesota. That's the Twin Cities, right? That's where Nativity of Mary is. Now, Martin was born and raised down at the bottom of the map in the little country there, and maybe you can see it, called Peru. And I'm going to zoom in here so you can see where he was, particularly in Lima at that red dot. That's the name of the town where he grew up. He had a sister, and his parents were Ana Velasquez and Don Juan de Porres. His mother was from Africa and maybe from South America, Native American, we would call them. And his father was from Spain. Now, his father was also a very important person in the community, and he did help Martin get some education when he was a young child, sent him to school, for instance, right? But unfortunately, when he was pretty young, he left the family and he never came back. That meant that his mother had to raise him and his sister by herself, right? Some in the community also might not have liked Martin because his skin was darker in color than most of the other people there. Sort of a sad thing. As he grew up, he felt called to serve other people, and he asked other people like priests and monks and brothers who lived in what's called a religious order if he could join them to help serve the poor. And even though they did let other people in while he was growing up, they wouldn't let him in, and it was because he looked different than the other people because his skin wasn't the same color. It makes sense that if Martin was angry, right, about that, like didn't seem fair to him, right, that they didn't let him join, and he could have just run away, right, and said, well, I don't want to join then if you're not going to let me. But Martin decided that he really, really, really wanted to join and serve the poor. And so he kept asking them and asking and said, please, will one of these groups let me help serve the poor? And many of them still kept saying no, but one eventually said, okay, you can help us by serving us, right? You can make food for us, you can work in the hospital, you can wear even the clothes that we wear, but you're still not going to be just like us. You're not going to be a full member of the community. So he had to do the jobs that no one else in the community wanted to do. Once he was there, though, he also helped found a place for children who had lost their parents like he did. It's called an orphanage. And he also enjoyed a lot to work with the sick people there. Sometimes when he prayed for sick people that he was working with, God would heal them, and that's what we call a miracle, right? So Martin was so close to God that God listened to his prayers and healed people because he asked them to heal, God to heal them. He wanted to love everybody the same, and he didn't care where they came from, what color their skin was. He didn't care whether they were important in the community, and he didn't care if they were somebody that nobody else cared about. And he really tried very hard to love everybody, even if they didn't love him back or treat him fairly. And when he was 59 years old, he got sick. And after a long sickness, almost a year long, he died in the year 1639. Now, this is an image then of his community where he was where he lived in Peru, in Lima. And here's an image in that community of Martin, an image of him healing someone who was ill. And this is an image of his grave there nearby in that community. Now, in the picture that's in our church, right, there's a couple of kind of hidden secrets. So in his hand, you might notice that there's a cross. And the artist included, Aaron Wee, the artist, included this image or this symbol because as Christians, we also say that Jesus heals all of our illnesses and all our sicknesses and all our weaknesses. And so the cross is one way to say that Martin was also a healer, right? That Martin wanted to heal other people in the way that Christ heals us, that Jesus heals us. And then the other thing you'll notice is the way that he's dressed, right? It's also the Dominican robes of the order that he joined. The Dominicans of the Holy Rosary was the name of the order. And that they're the group that let him serve in their community. So these are some of the hidden symbols in this image that tell us a little bit more about the kind of life that Martin lived. Now, also then, right, I said I was going to ask some questions, and this is where you and your teacher are going to pause the video between these questions and have a little bit of discussion time. I would like you to think about Martin's life a little bit more. There are other books, just so you know, too, about Martin's life that you can find. So if you want to learn more about Martin after this, you could ask your parents maybe for a book like this called Martin de Porres, The Rose in the Desert. So here's some of the questions, though, that I'd like you to think about. Has anybody ever been mean to you because they thought you were different? How did it feel? And what are some things that you might have done when someone was mean to you in the past? Go ahead and pause. Okay, so what then did Martin do when people were mean to him? Is there anything we could learn from the way that Martin acted when people were mean to him? You can pause. Okay, so how would it feel to have a parent leave your family and not come back? What might you do if that happened to you? How would you feel? How might you act? How did Martin react? You can pause. And finally, what can you do to make sure that you're being fair to people that you see around you? Are there any other things that you can make sure that you're not being mean to somebody, even if you didn't know that you're being mean? Thank you. I hope that you have a good conversation about these questions, and I hope you have a good week here, the rest of the week at Nativity.